Where'd you get that lead up to? What happened to my usual stuff? Oh my gosh, I feel like I need to do the bunny hop right now.
Yes.
I ain't doing it.
Oh.
So, I mean, I got one leg shorter than the other. That ain't gonna work. Put me on a side hill, then I'll do it. All right. Welcome back to the show, Your Real Estate Today. Paul Jamison, owner of the Jamison family of real estate companies, realty, property management, property investments, here with Tyler Bruce with Norwood, Armstrong and Stokes, and of course, Sandy Dickinson with Cross Country Mortgage. Hello, hello. We're back. Tyler, Sandy and I can't stand to wait any longer. We're going to talk about accessory structures in Charlotte and Mecklenburg. They don't let you build anything you want wherever you want in your own yard. What in the world is going on? It's another round fish sandwich.
I know. Well, if you want to build whatever you want, you got to live out in the county a little bit farther. But in Charlotte, there are some restrictions. The one that gets people into most trouble is how far away it has to be from the back lot line.
Yeah. What, isn't there different variations depending on where you are?
There can be, but the main rule is 3 feet from the rear lot line.
Okay.
And with not inside a setback area defined by the neighborhood or on the zoning ordinance. And of course, the zoning ordinance is new now, but the language of this section has stayed pretty much the same. Mm-hmm. And what that says is it can't be closer than 3 feet from a rear lot line.
Right. But that 3 feet includes the overhang, right?
So it does. So you don't want to build anything with a really overhung roof. You don't want to have yourself a covered porch on your accessory structure. That can cause you a lot of problems. And you don't have to be in the neighbor's property to have an issue with that. But that's why to get a survey before you purchase, especially if you're buying something that has a lot of outbuildings.
Yeah, you know, one of the most popular things in uptown these days is that what's called an ADU, the auxiliary dwelling unit. And they're awesome because what people are doing is they're, you know, renting them out. They're shoving their kids when they come back home in them. They're putting their office in them. They're doing things, and they're really enhancing the value of their property by building an auxiliary structure like that. And a lot of these older neighborhoods and these older construction, you look back, you do a survey, and you're finding an encroachment party. Tyler, there's encroachments everywhere. I mean, Sandy's got a property uptown in what is it, Seversville or whatever it is.
I think it's Enderley Park.
It might be Enderley. Okay, all right, whatever she says. And it's in there, and you can bet that half the houses on that street are over the property line.
Sure thing, and you can bet it, and you may or may not be right. That's what you got to check it out.
Do a survey.
That's right. And a lot of times that's the answer from the attorney, right? It depends. You got to get a survey. But there's all kind of restrictions on that. You know, we used to call them carriage houses or pool houses, right? Things with a living space, plus maybe you park a car, put a lawnmower in it. But they also can't be, you know, too tall or taller than the main structure. You get into trouble that way. And an interesting story about some of these little neighborhoods around, they used to have an alleyway in the back, and that actually saved some people a little while back because they absorbed the alleyway into the lots, and it made some violating structures no longer a problem.
Yeah. So what if you got one of those that's not in compliance, and it's been that way for 80 years?
So a lot of the time you're going to be grandfathered in, and you don't necessarily have to move it. Okay. But if you ever want to renovate or change it, or if it ever gets demolished, you would have to move it to the correct spot.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. You've also got a note here about South Carolina. Some of the differences in South Carolina, I guess, as opposed to North Carolina. What are your thoughts there?
Yes, sir. Well, it's important right now, especially with, you know, Charlotte Metro's kind of expanding out into York and Lancaster County, to know that there's 2 different property tax rates in South Carolina, one for investment property and one for residential property. And you have to actually fill out some paperwork with the county to avail yourself of the lower residential rate. Otherwise, you can end up paying triple what you should.
Yes, I know that firsthand.
Uh-oh.
Because when I bought in South Carolina, I had rental property in South Carolina, and I guess it was, I don't remember, was it 3 or 4 years ago when they I don't want to say the word, stuck it to you, but I mean, is there a better word I could say?
That'll work.
I mean, how about when they, stabbed you in the back? I mean, there's got to be a better word. When they, had a large difference between primary residence property tax and investment property tax. And I got, my son happens to live in a unit I still own in Fort Mill. This will give you some framework. That is about a $200,000 townhome, maybe 220. When I sell it to him, it'll be 220. So $220,000 townhome in Fort Mill. His tax bill on my tax bill on where he lives is $5,200 a year.
Yes,
Put
sir.
that in your pipe and smoke it. As compared to where I live in a neighborhood in South Carolina, my tax bill is about the same. And in Mecklenburg County, it's even less than it is for your investment property in York County.
Now, another good thing for you with the taxes is that you do live in South Carolina, because if, let's say you lived in Charlotte and you sold it to him, you'd also have to pay the non-resident withholding.
Yeah.
7% of your gain.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget about that until the day they sell.
Yeah, price is going up if that happens. What's 7% of 220? All right, I just had note to self on that. So property taxes, and you have to go down to the courthouse and fill out a bunch of paperwork if you want a homestead. I mean, you got to prove that that's
true.
Just like
for the residential rate, you got to get your license changed to South Carolina, your registration for your car, and then fill out a quick form. The homestead process is a little longer, takes a little more paperwork.
Yeah, it sure enough.
But that is the first $50,000 of the value is discounted off your property tax, and it's sort of a senior discount in South Carolina.
So what are you saying?
I didn't say you had it.
Sorry, Tyler, I couldn't resist.
Yeah, the little self-report there, Paul.
What about the South Carolina tax sales and the process there?
Well, that's one that catches some people up a little bit, especially on investment properties, because South Carolina will move quickly. All the counties in South Carolina will, in order to get to tax sale. If you go delinquent on your property taxes and you get to June of the year after they're supposed to be paid, you pay on January 1, let's say you don't pay and you get to June, they're going to end up sending it to a tax sale by the fall. And when somebody bids on that property, it doesn't automatically become theirs. But what happens is you have 1 year to redeem it from the date of the sale as the property owner. And during that time, if you redeem it, you have to pay the delinquent tax amount plus a percentage of the winning bid at sale. So the person who won the bidding is actually going to make money off of you because you forgot your tax bill.
Yep, that's right. That's exactly right. Well, and lastly, the contract. There's 3 quick things in the final minute you want to share about that's different.
Sure. Well, so in North Carolina, a lot of folks may be familiar with the way it works. You got your due diligence money. We talked about how that's coming down a little bit, and earnest money. With South Carolina, you have you have earnest money deposit and a termination fee. And what that termination fee is what I'm going to pay as a buyer to the seller to terminate the contract during the due diligence period. So I don't give it to anybody up front, but I only pay it if I terminate. And if I disagree with you, if I'm buying from you, Paul, about who gets the earnest money after the contract terminates, then a lot of the time that's going to have to go down to the magistrate's court in South Carolina to determine who should get it.
Right. Yeah, it's a very different process, but in the end, I'm licensed in North and South Carolina, so I'm broker in charge in both states. So, we got to know what's going on, but we always have the great folks like Tyler there to help us make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Of course, Sandy's licensed there too, so she's licensed all over the stinking place. It's cheaper to just say, or easier to just say where she's not licensed. Where is that, like Rhode Island or something?
Yeah, not licensed in Rhode Island.
Okay, see what I mean? There, I found one.
Delaware.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got more with Tyler, Sandy, and myself to show you real estate today. This is good stuff. I like it. We'll be right back. We got some more. So stay with us on News Talk 1110 99.3 WBT.